I'm an American who lived and worked in Europe for 4 years, and I had 29 days of paid vacation. Yes, you heard that right. The European Union actually has a law that all full-time workers are entitled to at least 20 days of paid vacation a year. So it is literally the law that you get a month of paid vacation per year. At least. I lived in Ireland specifically, and I had 29 days off a year, plus paid holidays, so it equaled out to around 40 days off a year, paid. How many times can I say that? That is why you see so many people living in Europe, Europeans themselves, immigrants, expats, always constantly traveling, and you wonder, what the heck are they doing? How are they doing this? The answer is that you're encouraged to take that time off, and you're encouraged to go on vacation, to go travel. In some countries, it is even illegal for your boss to try and contact you about work while you're on vacation. Furthermore, there is no such thing as sick time. That term did not exist in Ireland. If you were sick, and you were getting paid no matter what. There was no such thing as combining PTO and sick time. And at the end of the day, everyone, even with all their time off, still got their work done. What a surprise. It really makes you sit back and think, why is this not the norm in America? This is exactly what I mean when I preach that there's no work-life balance in America, because our lives are not prioritized. Our work is prioritized. We live to work, and when I lived in Europe, we worked to live.
You're not depressed, you just live in the US. I moved from the US to Europe and I plan on never going back. Living here has been so affordable and stress-free. I even had my baby here. It cost me about $1,300 to give birth here, and I got paid $400 by the state to have a baby here. It's just such a different culture here. Like, people aren't only centered by their work and their job. You get to actually enjoy life and do things on your own time. And I feel like right now is probably the best time to leave the US. And yes, that's everywhere in the world, but it's just so different when you live in a country other than the US. I moved to a tiny country in Europe for the past year, and I am 6 hours ahead of the US. So that means 3 p.m. here is 9 a.m. there. So I have until 3 p.m. every single day to do whatever I want to do. It's been incredible. So if you can, move out of the US and live in another country, because life is just so much simpler elsewhere. The food is better, the air is cleaner, the education is free, the healthcare is free, and you'll have a lot higher quality of life elsewhere other than the US.
If you're American and you have that itch to leave and move abroad, this is your sign to do it. I was miserable in America. I was 50 to 60 pounds overweight. I didn't know what I was doing. There's my toast. I felt like I was gonna be forever alone. I had no sense of self. I moved to Ireland in 2018 and I found my now boyfriend. I lost 50 pounds. I found a new career path and I made some of my best friends and I traveled the world. So if you have that itch, do it. It might not be you, it might just be America.
Heyo sis, you need to come work in Paris ASAP. Here's why. Aside from the 7 weeks of paid annual leave, in addition to bank holidays and sick days, your corporation will pay 50% of your chosen method of transportation. Bike, metro, but who cares, right? You probably care more about the fact that most corporations are required to either provide you with a canteen or cafeteria with superior French food quality, or they need to give you an allowance in the form of a ticket resto, which is like a debit card that you can use on any food purchases. Your lunch allowance is usually somewhere between 200 and 300 euros a month. Most companies also have an organization called the CSE, which provides you an annual allowance of around 1,000 euros to spend on basically whatever you want. You can use the allowance on gyms, fitness classes, travel such as hotels, airplane tickets, train tickets, and cultural events like museums, operas, ballets. It's basically free money. What are you waiting for? Send in that job app, thank me later.
6 reasons why, as an American, I prefer to live and work in the UK. Let's go! Number 1, free public healthcare. The NHS is truly amazing. 2, annual leave. The government legally gives every employee 20 paid days off a year, plus 8 bank holidays, where the US government gives 0. 3, in the UK, you are entitled to 1 year's maternity leave, and in the US, it's 0. The rights of LGBTQ+ employees in the UK have been protected in the workplace since 2010 under the Equality Act, whereas in the US, in June 2020, that just passed and became legal, so that means just for being gay, you could have been fired with no other explanation. 5, the Queen, who is also our neighbour. We live in Windsor. 6, lastly, guns. No gun culture.
Hi guys, welcome back once again. We all know for generations American has been presented as the ultimate destination for anyone who wants to work hard, make money, and build a better life. But today, a growing number of Americans are asking a very difficult or a very different question. What if making more money isn't the same thing as living better? Because when some Americans move to Europe and experience the working culture there, they often discover something that completely changes their perspective. More vacation time, stronger worker protection, public transportation that can reduce the need for a car, healthcare system that can protect people from anonymous medical bills, and perhaps most importantly, a culture where your entire identity isn't supposed to revolve around your job. Now let's be clear. We have all seen how a lot of right now Maga Americans are preferring to live or to go and work in Europe because Europe offer a better and a quality life. So guys, let's continue watching this clip to the end, then I'll be back with more comments.
I live and work in Spain, making roughly €1,000 a month, which in America is nothing, but in Spain is more than enough to live. I only work 16 hours a week, and I'm able to afford a super nice apartment in the city center of Madrid. Food costs me €20 a week. My electric bill is like €30 a month. I don't have to worry about gas or a car payment or insurance because the public transportation system is so world class that you don't even need a car at all. Madrid is like the New York of Spain, except if you were living in the city center of New York, you'd have to be making literally at least $5,000 a month, and that's extremely lowballing it. Just their way of life in general, like, is so much more relaxed and just taking time to enjoy life rather than just working constantly. They literally have a siesta in the middle of the day where they take 3 hours to go nap or go to a coffee shop to hang out with friends. Like, the American mind cannot fathom. It's just crazy to me because, like, you've been told growing up your whole life that America's the best country in the world. That's just so far from the truth. And it's, like, very obvious how much worse it is now that I've gotten out.
Okay, so I'm an American living in London, and let me tell you, living in Europe is freaking better than living in America. And yes, I know every one of you Europeans is going to come at me in the comments and say, we don't want Americans here, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm telling you, life is better in Europe. If you have the opportunity to move here, move here. I am changing my full perspective of life living here. It is worth it. Please go take the opportunity if you have the chance. And yes, I'm a couple glasses of wine in, but let me tell you, life is good here. Take the opportunity. Good night.
I absolutely could not go back to work in America after working in the UK. There's no way. I don't care how much you would pay me. The work culture here is just totally different, and I love it. And I love it. The very first reason, my first boss here, he said, there's always time for a cuppa, mate. There's always time for a cuppa. Back in America, when we had coffee or something, it was straight. You got coffee and then straight to work. There was no banter. There's nothing. It was boring, right? And here in England, it's magnificent. I mean, if you were to tell 5-year-old me back in America that we would be having adult tea parties when we were older, I'd be like, hell no, but it's happening. That's what I love about working here. There's always a bit of banter in the mornings, a little bit of chit chat. It's not always straight to work. We gotta have the banter. We gotta have a little laugh just to get started. Else it's just, the day just drags. And there's always time for a cuppa. Has been my motto ever since. Do you guys think there's such thing as too many tea breaks during the workday? What time is it? Oh, I don't think there is.
Here's 3 things I've learned as an American working in London. So working in London is definitely different than working in the US. I work in a tech job, but I think this applies to a lot of different corporate jobs in London. Number 1, work-life balance in general. When I worked in New York City in a consulting job, people did not respect my personal time whatsoever. There was an expectation that you were supposed to work at all hours for the company and that your personal preferences didn't matter. So a lot of times we would be working till midnight and you were expected to do that every single day. In London, it's so much better. Number 2, time off. It's really common for people to have minimum 25 days off a year, which in the US, there is 0. And people definitely take that time, especially in the summer. And number 3, quickly, because people are from all over the world, I think that generally politics are talked about less. In the US, you talk about it all the time.
Britt, you have absolutely no idea how fancy your life looks to the average American. So let me just give you a few examples of why Americans think Europeans and Brits in general live a fancier lifestyle than the Americans. First off, there is an abundance of luxury cars in the UK. An American generally isn't going to be buying BMWs. The average American is going to be driving something like a Ford or a Chevy or a Mercury, something like that. To drive a BMW, a Mercedes, a Lexus, that is a pure luxury item. They're just in abundance here. I think a BMW, in my opinion, is like driving a Ford in the US. Next thing is, we have fancy things like kettles, you guys, okay? So to have an electric kettle is actually quite fancy, and people don't even realize that that's actually a fancy item to have. There are some Americans who have them, but a lot don't, and they just put their water in the microwave. It's weird. And lastly, things like chocolate and our food in general, it does seem fancier because you can get a lot of fancier foods in the UK than you can in the United States, even just cheeses. And that's because these food items are literally imports in the US. But over here, they're like just in the normal cheese aisle or the normal food aisle. You're not gonna see these things or buy these things in America. If you want these things, you often have to go to a specialty store or order them in, and often they cost an awful lot of money. So over here, we are quite fancy, but that's just normal life.
I'm a 27-year-old American living in Paris, and let me tell you about the coolest perk when working in France. And no, it's not the 7 weeks of paid time off. Most corporations in France have this organization called the CSE. Basically, their mission is to ensure that you as a human being are well-rounded and cultured. Firstly, they give you this stipend. For me, it used to be 1,000 euros per year. It's gone down to 750 because as your salary goes up, this stipend goes down. And it's basically free money to use towards travel, fitness, cultural experiences like museums and concerts. Last year, I bought my flight to Japan. On top of that, they give you so much other random stuff, either free or deeply discounted. It was free for me to run the Paris Half Marathon, for example. Last week, I was dying to see the Nutcracker Ballet, and unfortunately, it was sold out. On top of that, tickets were like 150 euros per person. So I go to my CSE website, and category 1 seats, 40 euros. I swear, I'm seeing it next week. You can book free massages on it, and even better for the Christmas season, they just like spend the entire month of December spoiling you with random gifts, like bottles and bottles of like nice champagne, for example. We have this advent calendar at work that you do every day and you win prizes every day. I think you get like $170 gift card to wherever you want. Like there's this website where you can just pick which gift card you want. It's kind of crazy. And with everything that the CSE does for you, that doesn't include the government like 1,000 euros that you get annually for any type of training you want. I'll talk more on that later. But yeah, the government also gives you random money to like pursue your hobbies. Like if you want to learn how to drive a boat or pick up a new language. France is cool, man.
Here are 5 things that the UK does better than the US. Number 1, chocolate. Hershey's versus Cadbury. Hershey's tastes like regret. So UK chocolate has more milk content in their chocolate than most US chocolate, and I can definitely taste the difference. Number 2, public transportations. So you got the trains, you got the buses, you got the London Underground. Not perfect by any means, but much accessible compared to majority of the US, because in the US everything is so spread out. It's almost basically mandatory to have a car, unless you're like the big cities like New York City or something. You have options there, but for the rest of the US, I mean, it's necessary. You have to have a car, which is probably why the driving age is at a much younger age in the US. I can see that being a reason why. Number 3, healthcare. NHS compared to America is so much better when it comes to, because you probably have to get like a second mortgage or remortgage your house just because you got a broken leg. And don't get me started on how much it costs to have a baby in the US. Thankfully, my husband's in the military, so our daughter was free. But not everybody in America has that opportunity or that option. Number 4, traveling. Being able to be over here and travel so much easier. You have so many options and it's so much cheaper. In the States, yeah, we have 50 states. So I've been to like 38 or 39 of the 50, and one of my personal goals is to hit all 50 states. But being over here, I'd rather go see more countries and see how other cultures are. And I've been to over about 30 countries so far. So it's been a success being over here in the UK. Number 5, the history and the architecture. There's castles, there's cathedrals, there's the cobbler stones. Oh, I love it. There's the medieval times, and like, I think it's hilarious because in America, the buildings that are like 200 years old are so historic, but that's so funny because that's like a modern building here in the UK. The homes here in the UK, there's so much character. Oh, and the stone walls. I absolutely love the stone walls, especially up in Scotland when you're like driving through the Highlands and you got the sheep and the beautiful shade of green grass and those stone walls. Oh, absolutely my favorite. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything that the UK does better than the US.
Hi guys, welcome back once again. I really hope you've watched the full clip, and the bigger question is fascinating. Why are some Americans beginning to believe that working less, having more times off, and receiving stronger social protection can actually produce a better life? And once you hear what some Americans say after experiencing Europe for themselves, you begin to understand why this conversation is becoming so powerful. Let's start with something incredible, simple: time. Because time is one thing that money can never buy back. You can earn a huge salary, drive an expensive car, and have a successful career, but if you're constantly exhausted, constantly checking emails, and constantly worrying about work, what exactly are you winning? That is one of the biggest cultural differences Americans who work in Europe often talk about. In many European countries, paid vacation isn't treated like some special reward that you have to beg your employees for or your employer for. Paid annual leave is built into employment system across much of Europe, although the exact amount varies by country and job. And that's completely different philosophy. The message isn't necessary work until you are exhausted and then take a break. The message is more like you are a human being first and an employee second, and that distinction matters. Imagine finishing a long week at work and actually knowing that your weekend belongs to you. Imagine taking your vacation without feeling guilty that your coworkers are going to think you are not committed. Imagine being able to disconnect from your workplace and spend meaningful time with your family, friends, or simply yourself. For some Americans who experience that environment, it becomes difficult to go back to the old routine. And this brings us to the second major issue: work life balance. The Americans' work culture can be extremely ambitious and competitive. That ambition has produced incredible business, technological innovation, and economic opportunities. But there is another side to that story. Some workers find themselves answering emails late at night, working beyond their scheduled hours, commuting long distance, and spending so much energy on the career that very little is left for life outside work. Then they arrive in parts of Europe and encounter a different attitude. The idea that work is important, but it isn't everything. You still have responsibility, you still have deadlines, you still have difficult days, but the expectation in many workplaces is that when the working day is finished, the working days is finished. And that can be a massive psychological change because the goal isn't necessarily to work as little as possible. The goal is to work efficiently enough that your job doesn't consume your entire existence. And that leads directly to another major reason Americans compare Europe favorably: healthcare. Healthcare is one of the most complicated differences because Europeans' healthcare system aren't identical. Some rely heavily on public system, some combine public and private insurance, and all of them have their own challenges. But one thing that attracts attention is the idea that getting sick should not automatically become a financial disaster. For an American worker, medical expenses can be a major concern, especially when serious treatment, insurance deductibles, prescription, or unexpected procedure become involved. So imagine being an employee and becoming seriously ill. In some European systems, there are stronger protection around healthcare costs and medical leave. That doesn't mean everything is free or perfect, and it doesn't mean there are never waiting lists or other problems. But for many people, the basic principle is powerful. Your health should not destroy your financial future. And that changes how people think about employment. You're not just working to pay bills. You are also working within a system that may provide certain protection when life doesn't go according to plan. Now let's talk about something else Americans frequently mention after moving to Europe: transportation. In many American cities and suburbs, having a car isn't really a luxury, it's a necessity. You need the car to get to work, you need it to go shopping, you need it to take children places, you need it to visit friends, you need it to because everything is spread out. And once you add the car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, and repairs, transportation can become a major part of your monthly expenses. But in many European cities, public transportation gives people another option. Train, buses, metros, and walkable neighborhoods can make everyday life considerable difference. Instead of spending an hour sitting behind the steering wheel, someone might walk to a train station, take a train, and arrive at work without worrying about parking. And this isn't just about saving money, it's about saving time and mentality, energy. That's another hidden part of quality of life. And this is the reason why we've all seen a lot of Maga Americans are preferring to go to work in Europe because of the better quality of life. So, guys, let me just know what you think in the comment section. Let me see you in the next clip. Be blessed whenever you are.